I have the downloadable folder that goes with this section that has 4 different photos in it. We're going to go ahead and open this one right here of the plant. I'm going to bring that right into Photoshop. This is another thing. This is actually my fireplace, and I took it with my phone and I didn't touch it. It's right from my phone, and it needs a lot of work. It's a little dark, and I feel like the colors are not saturated enough. So we're going to go through a very, very similar process that we went with the hourglass. So one of the first things I like to do is just quickly go to brightness contrast. It's the easiest and quickest way to add some contrast. So I'm going to increase the brightness just a tad, just going to slide it. You don't want to do it too much or it just gets very washed out. So I just want to do a little bit, and I want to add a little bit of contrast as well. Once again, don't go overboard. That looks very overprocessed. You want to just do a quick adjustment. And so I can quickly go to levels, which is a whole lot easier to manage than curves. Doesn't give you as much options, but it's just a quick way to brighten up some of those brighter pixels. So what I want to do is I want to make some of these lighter pixels lighter. So I'm just going to go over to the white point and I'm going to drag it over to the left. So you notice how it's really, of course you can make it really just too much, but it's taking some of those brighter pixels and making them brighter. I can also adjust the midtones as well. I can make midtones darker or the midtones brighter. I make them just a little bit brighter and kind of leaving the black point alone. Super quick. I'm not going to use curves because if you pretty much choose one or the other, don't need to use both. So exposure, it's already pretty bright. I probably don't need to use exposure too much in this. I think if I would, it would just instantly look over process. So I'm going to click on revert back. So I'm going to just not use exposure at all for this one. Let's do vibrance because I really want to make the green really, really rich. So I'm going to increase the vibrance, and you'll notice the difference between kind of the warmer tones of the wood is coming out, and also the leaves are looking very vivid. So I don't want to go all the way. Let's kind of do something in the middle, and let's add a little saturation. And this is all just testing. You don't really know what it's going to look like until you see the preview. That could look a little bit too saturated, so I have to be careful. So I just want to do a little saturation. Once again, I can toggle this off and on. So that's before, that's after. I think that's a nice amount. There's no perfect amount. It depends on the style that you're trying to go for. So color balance, let's say I think there's too much yellow in the walls. I can add a little bit of blue to counter some of that yellow. So I'm going to adjust the highlights, which most of this is going to be your lighter highlight pixels. And I'm going to just add a little bit of blue, which is basically taking away yellow. And notice how instantly it went from kind of yellowy walls to kind of a little bit more neutral color just by adding a little bit of blue. I guess I'll also do the same for midtones and see if any of my midtones would benefit from blue. But then it starts to get into some of the green pixels, and putting blue with a highly saturated green is going to dull the green. So let's not worry about that. I just edited the highlights, just added a little bit of blue. That's it. I'm not going to do anything else. I can go to selective color, and I can select my greens, so I can be very selective, just like the adjustment name refers to. So I'm going to take my greens and I'm going to go to black. I'm going to add black, see kind of what it does, and I'm going to subtract it. And that's kind of what it's going to affect. So what I want to do is I kind of want to lighten it. So I'm going to reduce the black on my greens. It's going to lighten it a little bit. So that's before, that's after, right? So I kind of want to do something in the middle. And what I've noticed is this probably has more yellow than I think it does. So let's go to yellow, pretty close to green, so there's probably overlap there. I'm going to go to my black to see how much it affects. And that actually, it's more yellow pixels in there than green. So really what you're seeing is a mix between yellow and green to make up these leaves. It's not just green. So let's add a little darkness to it, or we can add a little lightness to it. If we take away some of those yellows and subtract black, it kind of looks washed out. But what if we were to add a little black? It kind of brings some of those shadows out of the leaves, and it no longer looks washed out. So I feel like I'm done with this specifically. There's nothing else I want to do. You notice that took probably 3 or 4 minutes. If I didn't explain each step, it's probably a 3 or 4 minute edit. And that's usually how long it takes to do a quick edit for a photo for social media or for a website. It just, once you kind of learn some of the main adjustments and what they do, you'll be able to do this very, very quickly. You shouldn't be spending hours editing, doing these types of edits to photos. That's when you get into the finer details of photo editing, like skin retouching and other types of retouching, which is a lot more specific to only certain parts of a photo. These are just wide adjustments that affect the entire photo. So we're going to do another one really quickly. Let's do before and after. I love looking at before and afters because you don't realize the impact that these small adjustments make until you see a before and after. Let's do a quick sharpen. This is not a smart layer yet. It's not a big deal because we still had our smart filters applied on top of it. So I'm going to right click. I'm going to make this a smart object so I can add a smart filter as a sharpen. So I have my layer selected. I'm going to go up to filter. It already saved my last filter that I did, which was sharpen. But I'm going to go the longer route so you can see how I did that. Just go down to sharpen, go all the way down to sharpen. I'm just going to do once. You can over sharpen. Do not over sharpen. So now I could take that away easily because it's now a smart filter. But I'm going to leave it on. So let's just group everything into a folder. So I'm going to select everything, group it into a folder, and now I can untoggle the visibility. So that's before. It's right from an iPhone. I did 0 adjustments. This is after just a quick couple minutes, and this is after. And a lot of times when you toggle before and after, you'll kind of start to go, okay, I think I need to make some adjustments after this. So I think it's a little bit over, it's starting to get a little over processed, and it's also the brightness and contrast. So I can go back to brightness and contrast, and I can reduce the brightness just a tiny bit. So now I can go back to my group, toggle it on and off. And I feel a little bit better about that. Of course, there's still some adjustments you can make, but that's the case for any photo. So here you go, before and after. We're going to do one more quick general photo edit, and then we're going to talk about gradient maps because I think they're really cool. And we're going to create a couple of quick social media posts to practice the gradient maps. And sometimes it's all about the cropping and how a photo is cropped. So let's say I wanted to do a quick crop of the photo. There's a crop tool right over here on the left, and you're going to see some little tabs that I can move to crop it. So what I want to do is I want to crop out kind of where this part of the mantle of the fireplace is. So I'm going to bring it up and let go, and I'm going to take this adjustment and bring it down and let go. And when I'm ready, I'm going to press enter, and I've officially cropped my photo.